Hi, everybody. My name is Connor McGinty, and this is my senior capstone proposal presentation. I'm titling it Genre Engaged Entertainment. So a little bit about me is my full name is Connor Ahulao McGinty. I am a senior undergrad at the University of Hawaii West Oahu and a graduate of Windward Community College with an Associates of Arts. I Before that, I graduated from Kalaheo High School. My current obtaining degree with West Oahu is in creative media, video game design, and development. And my current employment is at Safeway as a grocery manager and National Guard Army 17 Echo. My career goals thereafter, my employment and degree, is to be a video game designer and developer as a job and a computer hardware engineer. So for the project, to break it down, we're going to break down the four different categories. First is going to start out with the plans for the senior capstone project, my thesis statement for the project, the objective and rationale of the research conducted, and the significance of the project and the research behind it. So for my thesis statement, we have video games has been known as the most resourceful, one of the most resourceful outfits for interactive experiences in the modern era. Using this outlet, I want to understand how to present game designing and development as an indie developer to further connect with people through combining a unique set of genres like mystery, platform, 2D, and 3D. I also talk a lot about 2.5D, which is kind of the combination of the two, to give the players a chance to expand their possibilities of enjoyment with a rare collection of engaging categories. Using mechanics and assets throughout the game to test players in crafting their own conclusions on the progression of the narrative to reach an individual group consensus on the mystery within the game to later conclude on the feedback of enjoyment for the project. So like reviews and whatnot thereafter after the project to see how people felt about the experience. So for the objective, through the research conducted, there was the showcase of the level of engagement involved in collecting multiple engaging genres under one project. So, like for the example, this project, I'm gonna briefly talk about it again, but 2D, there's multiple assets dedicated or multiple dimensions dedicated to this specific project, which is 2D, 3D, 2.5D, and 2D and or 3D. For the simplicity of the presentation, I'll just be referring to them either as 2.5D or 2D/3D. To uncover the contrast and benefits of working independently, so this project will be developed as an indie developer or in a more general broad term as a freelance uh, game designer. So without any financial backing is the kind of default interpretation of any development without too much access to what a normal employment standard level of resources would be considered, and a to demonstrate a cohesive and digestible mystery that allows room for compelling conclusions. So this would be to understand the research behind what it takes to build a mystery in a narrative format. So what the story, the characters, the environment, kind of just the whole um, imaginative, creative process behind it, and what kind of ways and implementations and just f different concepts of what you can do with that to create an engaging experience. And the decision behind kind of adding in these kind of dimensions like 2D, 3D, and all those. And what it takes to, or what is the benefits behind it as a platformer, and what kind of benefits in the, I guess, presentation of the game while you're playing it. So what's the benefits behind 2D, 2D, using 2D for a mystery? So can you hide things in the background with 2D better than you can with just a 3D game? Can 2.5D present a level of depth quite literally and quite mentally or psychologically to the point where it allows players to experience the game in a more engaging format. And how tackling the selection of genres as an indie developer can be exclusively resourceful due to its limitations, financial constraints, and other contrasts with corporate advantages and disadvantages. So, what are the benefits of working in as an indie developer? For example, the freedom of choice. I'll get into that in a future slide, comparatively to the advantages of corporate, where they get paid and whatnot. But yes, explore what each genre can provide and how to properly execute them for an audience. And finally, to discuss the understanding of how people cognitively interpret and digest engagement with video games and mystery narratives. So, the game, I'll talk about the audience in a minute, but ideally, I'm talking about in this last bullet point on what both gamers as a audience being the first main audience, and then two being the second audience as experiencing the game to be people that kind of like mysteries in general and are willing to open up to the possibility of playing video games for either the first time or returning to it as newcomers in general. For the senior capstone project, I'm planning to deliver at the end of the capstone semester a 2.5D platform video game with multiple playable levels, balancing a mix between 2.5D dimensions, platform mechanics, and a mystery narrative environmental contexts through the capabilities of being an indie developer. These levels will be playable via the Unity engine exclusively to the PC platform as a downloadable.exe, and with the future intent to hopefully publish fully on a platform. And so for what this project is and the research conducted um, direction for it was this project will be conducted as this will be a project and it'll be conducted as an experimentation of an experience as an indie developer with the rationale of the research conducted on both the processes of the level of understanding for each genre and bringing the research into practice. So what it takes to kind of break it down into what it's like to be to create a mystery narrative, what it's like to create a video game, what it's like to create an indie development video game, what it's like to create a platform 2.5D game, to kind of just break it down into different parts to demonstrate both the experience as a developer and the audience's take towards it. So, based on the research conducted, how many people find this genre either enjoyable or what it takes to make this kind of project engaging, and the resources available under being an indie developer. So, for the first significance of this project, I wanted to talk about the development side of things. So the development side, or being the creator of the video game or project in particular, would be, or even the genre of mystery as well. This will be kind of a representation for those two different concepts. So people that, for example, either like genre of mystery, this will be, or indie development, this will be a kind of showcase that they can create something that an audience can enjoy and engage with, and possibly have fun with, without an employment standard level of assets and support. So, as a freelancer, I want to showcase that you can make something out of this and provide it to the masses or whoever's willing to play it. And so the future implications of this is to bring in new talent for the project for the gaming community. So this will show to a lot of people that are aspiring to be game developers that something like this could, bring in a lot of people. Um, because what if they're afraid to try being a freelancing or to try this as a hobby, this kind of shows them the potential to do so. So present um, to professionals or aspiring mystery creators a new outlet to either work or under. work under or connect with. So through the eyes of a mystery creator, whether you're writing a story or creating the characters and all of that goes into being a mystery, this is a great way to kind of influence those people too, because for one, they can either understand that there's a whole new outlet they can go under. So they can work with game developers if they don't want to make the video game themselves, or something along those lines where they can kind of portray themselves in a aside from the normal media. I would say mystery sometimes is catered to video game design, but it could be it's a new thing for some people to consider. So the demonstration of some skills presented in the creative media curriculum and promotes them to the public audience. So being that this is all the knowledge I've accumulated from being a creative media student and all the different assets, different ways of story writing, the different film and photography understanding understanding of what it was under my degree. I want to kind of promote that as a to the general audience or the public audience that's willing to experience it, to see if they are willing to experience this degree or something correlated as well. So for the second significance of my project is the audience's perspective on it. So to kind of present to the players to allow them a cognitive test. So this would be being that video games and mystery kind of correlate towards a um, puzzling phenomenon or experience. So it would test them in a way that both is enjoyable, digestible, and engages them with the game and the story. So the future implications of this significance would follow under new media, general gameplay skills, promoting to newcomers in the gaming community. So if they've been playing other games like Call of Duty and whatnot, this could be a new experience for them. And just kind of a new form of entertainment or education because the puzzling could include new ways of understanding environments and other formats of learning how to play this particular game. And yeah, it could also promote as a reusable tool for testing and building cognitive behavior towards exploration. And it promotes new opportunities of inspiration towards rare collections of genres. So the collection of 2.5D platforming, mystery, and just all of it is very rare, especially being an indie developer. This is not a touched upon uh, format. So to kind of provide a new form in general for the audience, whether it being gamers or mystery enthusiasts or anyone willing to play, this is a new take on something that could expand their horizons. So the data concluded, there's a lot of different um, formats or different categories of this as well. So please bear with me. The resources available and the quality of benefits for indie developers through basic skills and access to the community. So being an indie developer, you have multiple um, kind of ways to test and bring bring into understanding of what you want to do for the project. So one being quality assurance testers and general audience slash closed testers. So before release of the project or game, you can put it to the test with quality assurance testers. These are mostly paid testers, so you will experience them. They'll be experiencing the more mechanical side of the game, if the game is like properly functioning, and that side of it. And then there's the play testers themselves The playtesters are more on the end of the experience of the game overall. So if it's fun, enjoyable to in general audience, and my last bulletin will talk about the levels of the audiences as well. So information based on the mystery narrative genre and how it can be presented compellingly, or what elements can be included in the given media to do so. So, for my particular project, I'll be talking about the mystery narrative because it's the narrative that I've chosen to bring with this. And because of that, I research in the concept of mystery narratives is highly essential because creating a compelling story requires understanding the different elements, like how the audience can reach a conclusion, whether being what with the movie or beforehand, to create kind of a cognitive experience mentally, where they can figure out the clues and who's behind the situation for themselves, and examples of relating genres slash games and how the audience and their feedback result in games with critically acclaimed titles or reflections of their development process. So these are different things that correlate towards specifically the mystery or like mystery or gaming experience. And then I also want to talk about an article of the resourcefulness of engagement of choice as it helps build a mystery of psychological decisions with an example of like BioShock. So BioShock, it presents this kind of engagement in mystery where you have decision making, like choosing if you want to tackle a different route, and there's an with for example, understanding that there are little sisters, which are side quests considerably, where you can interact with them, either saving them or destroying them technically. And because of this, it kind of creates a mystery on what the past kind of lead to. So one, the mystery being it's a side quest that's completely optional, and understanding that it's completely via of a choice. Two, the mystery behind what the decision outcomes are to be. And then three, being the mystery of the lore behind the sisters and what it represents for the BioShock game slash games. So, and I use concepts like the mystery movie Knives Out because it kind of develops characters in intriguing and engaging ways. So Knives Out in particular uses very unique characters throughout the entire movie, and those characters kind of like distract the player or distract the audience, sorry,
Connor,
to
sorry, I just want to interrupt. You have 10 minutes. That's going to include Q&A. Yeah. So
oh,
you're
gotcha,
going
sorry.
to start wrapping up.
Okay. And I just also use examples like Stardew and Katana Zero when deciding through the lens of an indie developer. So, benefits of collaboration in 2.5D elements. So, on the bottom right is one of the many graphs that use kind of a relatively small um, target audience. So, this particular one went into what people prefer and the preferability of being mostly people that like 3D games, but then also the 36% being both liking it both equally 2D and 3D. And so I kind of mentioned that because the the ability to use both or all assets is, resourceful. So the target audience would be gamers or mystery enthusiasts, open to learning about the new media. So people going to seek a new discovery, make new connections, and the kind of seeking a new kind of gameplay experience for the gamers. Um, and so for my proposed solution, um, I want to talk about the ability to to engage and choose with a new experience beyond their norm, and for incoming individuals open to expanding their genre with demonstrations of the possibilities of the limitations behind developing a well-reviewed game as an indie developer. So just expanding people's horizons on this new take on a collective of um, genres. So for the preparation process, I want to talk about the planning. It goes into planning the story, all the narrative aspects, and the development stages, and the testing and publishing. For the production, there's the mystery narrative, the video game, and hiring the testers. And then for post would be the downloadable file, and the feedback from the public. And so for the deliverables, this is the basically I just want to summarize it to what it's like to be an indie developer. So here's like the many examples with the scripts and the assets presented. And then this is the deliverable for kind of the narrative and kind of world building aspects. So what it takes to build multiple levels with different dimensions, different mechanics, different narrative progression, and the room of creating the exe file with the possible implementations of it being on the marketplace for free, obviously. Yes, thank you.